This is a Pele Media podcast.
Welcome back to Goonies Minute, everybody. Goonies Minute is the fan podcast where we carefully explore the movie Goonies minute by minute. I'm Brady.
And this is Chris.
And today we're here to explore minute number 53. Chris, how you doing?
Doing well. Just trying to think about what costume I'm going to wear for the Spanish Town Parade.
Yeah, so they actually do like more than one, I think. Like a couple of weekends leading up to the official one this weekend. That's right, yeah.
And I usually wear some they like yoga pants, like fluorescent. They look like wrestling tights. Let's say they're wrestling tights.
Yeah.
And a pink sequence vest and a tie that's also made of pink and black beads.
Listeners, if anybody can...
It's a nice combination of love.
Try and draw a picture of this and email it to us at gooniesminute@gmail.com and you'll get a free Goonies Minute t-shirt. Yeah. Maybe, but probably not.
Well, once they send it in, then you'll have to go get that T-shirt.
Exactly, yeah. Not going to happen. All right.
Yeah, I got a better idea. Let's get into the minute.
Let's get into the minute, please. Quick. In the previous minute, the Fratellis threatened to put Chunk's hand in a blender if he didn't tell him everything he knows. He finally gave in and confessed every bad thing he's ever done, including cheating on a math test to pushing his sister down the stairs. Meanwhile, the Goonies made their way further into the caves before stumbling upon another lantern. At 53 minutes, the Goonies follow each other down a narrow walkway. Andy rushes by them, muttering to herself in a state of sheer panic. Brand follows alongside her to make sure she is okay. As she asks him for reassurance, she looks down and notices something, a human skeleton. Its lower half has been crushed by a boulder. As Brand, Mouth, and Data bend down to examine the skeleton, Mikey stands and looks around in thought. And thus ends minute 53 of the Goonies. So here at minute 53, we are finally on One-Eyed Willie's turf. I mean, we are, right, literally underneath his booby traps that you can see throughout the minute and the next minute hanging over the heads of the Goonies. Not to spoil anything, but I think it's so neat that they're there. And after you've seen the movie once and you know what's going to happen, you can look back and it's just all the more ominous seeing these giant rocks that are going to come down.
I mean, just these small areas that they're traveling through, dim and not having a clue what the next step might mean. It's got to be just totally frightening.
Yeah. I think it's another cool touch, too, that they would give. I think it's Steph who's holding a lantern, and then Brand who's holding one up front. So you have they're at the front and back of the line.
Which is thoughtful and smart.
You're going to have even light. Well, yeah, for the situation, but also in terms of the filmmaking and the fact that you have even light through that hallway. So it's just going to make more sense visually. But let's see. So these are I think we touched on this yesterday. These are the caves that Willie and his men dug out, underground or whatever. And they did all this, in order to throw off or kill anyone who's going to be like coming to find the treasure. I think it was like their option out, and then anybody who was going to be coming in looking for it would die under the booby traps, which we see has happened to someone here, and that person is Chester Copperpot.
Yeah, I like how Data says maybe they're still here, and Steph's like, I hope not. And they find cigarettes.
Yeah,
and before we see Chester Copperpot and the horror of seeing that skeleton, Andy is having an absolute panic attack.
Yeah.
And I think she does a really good job of acting like you're having a panic attack. And if anybody who's not had a panic attack, it'd be hard to act like that if you haven't really had one. Maybe she has a history of panic attacks, and maybe that's why she was able to be able to act like that. We don't know, but she does a good job of that.
She does, yeah.
And one of the interesting thing she says is she's talking about Troy looking down her shirt, and it's almost like she wishes, like how bad could that be? She wishes she was in the situation because it's a lot more safe for Troy to be looking down her shirt than for her to be in this situation in this cave.
Yeah, which is played for laughs. But if you've been, like you said, if you've been around someone who's having a panic attack, the kind of stuff that just is coming out of their mouth is incoherent and
I know, and
doesn't make it's terrifying. It really is.
She's like basically saying, "Do I have a good body?" Like thinking like, well, Troy was just looking at my good body. You know? And they're having. And some of the other Goonies, of course, when a kid is going to see somebody that has a panic attack and they've never seen that before, it can be troubling. And you can see that some of the Goonies
they're literally like, what's
really,
going
it's like,
on
what
with
is
Andy?
going
What's
on with
happening with
her,
her?
you know?
And again, like we said, it's kind of sort of played for laughs here in the movie, but it is, that's a legitimate thing. It's, it's one of those neat things that this movie does where you can look at it two different ways. This is either kind of a goofy little thing where a girl's like listing off problems and everything and being kind of a drama queen, or it's someone who is having a legitimate traumatizing panic attack.
And the fact that she would rather a predator look down
exactly.
her shirt than be in a situation here, at least she's surrounded by all of her friends, just shows how terrified she actually was.
Exactly. And, you're right. Whenever you say it's a good performance.
And guess what? It only gets more terrifying when they actually see that skeleton. Yeah. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that skeleton. Mm-hmm. And so many times in movies we see the classic white skeleton, bone skeleton
like bleached
that
white
you
skeleton.
see in your science class in grade school or high school. But this is, for as bad as that counterfeit prop was, this is equally as good.
Yeah.
And it looks like it was a skeleton that had flesh that decayed.
Right.
Okay. And it's just so realistic, and I think what adds to the horror is seeing the bugs.
Yeah, the roaches and the maggots and all that.
And the beetles, it looks like, in the eye sockets.
Yeah.
It's just, to me, that just adds to that realism. And then the beard, too.
Yeah. Okay, so hair continues to grow as the body dies, right?
I think so.
I've heard this.
Well, I also heard that part of the reason that the fingernails look like they continue to grow, is because the body loses moisture and it shrinks, but the fingernails still stay the same.
Oh, they stay the same. Okay.
So I've heard some different things about it. It's a hair, I'm not sure. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But I think some of these myths have been dispelled. But
I mean, I think I learned that on Looney Tunes, which is where I learned a lot of things in life. But so I don't know what the stages of decomposition are. And
well, I used to sell for an answering service that worked for. We sold for funeral homes. So I would sell this answering service. Because think about it.
When did you do this? Tell the story.
2005.
Okay.
But think about it. You think someone's always at a funeral home at 1 a.m.? No. You call a funeral home at 1 a.m., but you also are not, if you have a body that you have to call for someone to pick up, you're not going to leave a message either. Think about it.
Right.
So funeral homes have answering services. They all have answering services to where when you call them, then they patch a call through to the funeral director. That's how it works. But I sold a premium service for these funeral homes, and was number one answering service in Louisiana. And in part of having that job, I had to go to the Texas Funeral Directors Convention in Galveston, Texas. So I learned all about embalming, and I went to a mortuary service and saw right before they had an autopsy. I saw how they shipped them in containers.
I didn't know you when you 2005.
Yeah, actually, and the funny thing is, I went to film a commercial.
Really?
Of all things.
I didn't know you in 2005, did I?
And we just met a little bit later that year.
Weird.
But yeah, so I got to learn about decomposition,
there you
the rules of embalming, and all kind of things. So it's very interesting.
Huh.
Very interesting. I'll have to tell you more about it sometime.
Maybe. So here we go. Chester Copperpot, who I think it is so cool that that we actually get to meet this character that was set up earlier in the movie, which I would have thought they would have just left the Chester Copperpot thing right there in the attic.
Right.
So the fact that we come back to it and it's not just, oh, look, it's a skeleton. It's somebody who died trying to get through here, which they easily could have taken that route because it would have added to the whole thing about, other people have tried to come down here and disappeared. So this would have lent credence to that. But the fact that it is Chester Copperpot makes it all the more foreboding that, now they can answer that question. This dude, he didn't just disappear. He is dead.
Right. It makes perfect sense.
Horrible death.
They've got the picture in the attic and hear that they come face to face with this person who was never found.
Yeah.
I mean, that has to be absolutely chilling. And they know that, and I think it's the next minute they say it. This data says it. I'm pretty sure it's next minute, but it could be at the end. It could be this minute. He says, this guy was a professional. How are we supposed to get out of here? I think it's next minute he does that. But that's true. Think about it. They knew this guy was a professional in looking for this treasure, and here he is dead right in front of them.
Yeah.
and then right at the end of the minute, it switches back, and Data says, "Don't touch it," which I can't imagine anybody would have touched that skeleton. I mean, what kind of cojones would you have to do that? I mean, come on.
The only other note I have for this minute is that when Andy is, having her panic attack, she says, "I have a nice body, don't have a nice body." Bran takes the opportunity to say, "Oh, you've got a great body."
Oh, yeah, and that sounds like something I would do. I would have been totally reassured him in that situation. But think about him. He's so in love with her.
Yeah.
And then he sees her like this. He must be thinking, man, what am I getting myself into?
Well,
anyway, that's pretty much all I have.
It's a fun minute. I'm so glad that we're out of the restaurant and we're out of the bleakness of all of that, and now we're finally down in the caves, and we're about to face off with all of One-Eyed Willie's booby traps, and the movie just really ramps up from here, and I'm excited about the rest of it. I'm looking forward to minute 54. How about you?
That's it.
All right. That's it for me, too. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in today for minute number 53. We will see you back here tomorrow for Goonies minute 54. And until then, this is Brady.
And this is Chris.
And we're here to remind you that Goonies never say die. Goonies Minute is a fan-supported podcast. If you like the show, then leave us a review on iTunes. You can find us at GooniesMinute.com, Facebook.com/GooniesMinute, Twitter.com/GooniesMinute, and at Instagram @GooniesMinute. You can contact us at GooniesMinute@gmail.com. You've been listening to a Pele Media podcast. For premium content and exclusive podcasts, visit us at Patreon.com/Pele Media. Check us out on Facebook at Facebook.com/Pele Media and follow us on Twitter at Twitter.com/Pele Media.